Paltrocast.
Besides having to talk to me, is it a good day for you so far?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be speaking with you because I had the screeners, so I've seen the whole heel season, and we will avoid the spoilers. But one thing that intrigues me is when a character dies on a show, usually they're in 1 or 2 episodes. You are all over season 2. You're in there so much. So I'm curious if you knew at the beginning, hey, I'm going to be around for a while when you got the first script.
Yeah, I knew because, I mean, it was a powerful first episode in the first season, but I likely would not have done it if there wasn't more. But Mike said from the beginning that we got great plans. We're going to do have a lot of fun with this character and really dig into him. And, and of course, I'm so glad I did it, man. I mean, I had the best time. It was a great cast. The writing is terrific. The show is really good. And I know everybody says that, but I'm a really harsh critic, especially of things that I'm involved in. And I generally don't always like, but this show may be my favorite of all the shows. Jag is probably my favorite, but Heels is definitely my second favorite.
I can imagine why. Without saying what happens, the last 12 minutes or so of that last episode of the second season, that's amongst the most intense television I think I've ever seen.
Wow. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'll make sure you get screeners. I'll talk to the needed people. But bottom line, I'm curious about, I've heard in speaking with a lot of the cast over the last year or so, some of the people were diehard wrestling fans. Some of them never watched any wrestling and just did research for the role. How much research did you have to do?
A lot, because I never watched WWF. And like a lot of things, when I played John Wayne, I remember I got that role. I auditioned for it and I got it, and I really knew nothing about John Wayne. In fact, I think I had a negative attitude towards John Wayne if you were to ask me before I got that role. But as I dug into that role, I came to love the man and really respect what he did. And the same with this. Now I have a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 20 years. And so I have a good ground game, and the wrestling part of it, not that I get to do much wrestling, but I was ready, and I kept saying, guys, hey, listen, I actually wrestle, but they never really took advantage of it. But the other upside of this was the opportunity and the drive to really get in shape. Oddly, when I first talked to Mike, I had maybe a month prior or 5 weeks prior, someone had sent me this thing on Facebook, the push-up challenge, right? Do 25 push-ups a day for 30 days or something, and I said, let's do 50 push-ups a day. And then, then we invited somebody else, and then it just kept upping it. So I was up to 600 push-ups a day in sets of 50. And we would do 600, and you had to film it and then post it. And so I was jacked when I first met Mike on FaceTime, because it was during COVID. It was during the depths of COVID at the time, so there were no in-person meetings. But so I was thrilled. And then, of course, I started really pounding the weights and having fun with that. So,
yeah, when they put the mustache on you, you look a little bit like Dan Severn, but you also look a little bit like Rick Rude. Do you know were they styling you after anybody once they put the stash on?
No. In fact, that they never put that on me. I grew that mustache. My wife hated it. But and I'll come back to that question. But we went to Stagecoach, my wife and I, during the filming of the second season, and I had the stash. And I had 2 separate people came up to me and went, "That's the greatest mustache I've ever seen, man. Can I have a picture with you?" They had no idea who I was, but the mustache was so, my wife was like, "Oh my God," because she hated it. No, I grew it. I just thought, I initially, and I didn't know, because I didn't know anybody was before the show was being filmed, but they'd only shot one episode in the first season. And my idea was to have this handlebar mustache with a soul patch, and Mike was like, yeah, he didn't let me know until after I'd grown it that Wild Bill had that
Yes.
look. So then I thought, you know, what would be great is to style it after Wyatt Earp,
Oh,
right, which I dug into that film. Not
yeah.
necessarily it was bad guys. God, I'm so bad with names, my brain. But one of the characters in the best film, not the Kevin Costner one, but the Kurt Russell film. Anyway, that's where that look came from. I just thought a wrestler. I wanted a little to depart from myself, and I just wanted to really dig in and have to find a character as far from me as I could.
That's fascinating that you didn't have that wrestling groundwork, that it's really just about the craft, and you approach this like you would have approached any part of your craft.
I mean, wrestling is theater, right? And I'm, I come from the theater. I mean, so it's not that far. It's just a fun kind of cartoon thing. I remember, I spent a lot of time in the Bahamas. My father was Bahamian, and I remember at the height of wrestling, going to the Bahamas, and these guys, he came from one of the out islands, one of the smaller islands in the Bahamas, the Exumas, and all the guys there. And I remember them arguing about how it was real. Man, that is real, boy. You can't make that up. And they were like, who was the greatest wrestler? And I just thought, this is just so absurd. But people who love that sport, they just love it. They eat it up. It's a great departure from the reality, that we all face every day, the drudgery of work, 8-hour, not all of us, but, not you and me, but the common man, he's out there working a job that he doesn't love. He lives for his time off, and, just like superhero movies, and it's that whole genre, man.
I find in speaking with a lot of wrestlers out of character, and also speaking with a lot of comedians off stage, wrestlers and comics are pretty much cut from the same cloth. Is that something that you've encountered?
I would see, there is definitely, they definitely meet at a certain point in that line. Absolutely. They're drawing a really broad character, and they're, they're building the drama, or the comic drama, because you can't really take it too seriously. I mean, some of the moves are just crazy, but these guys they're getting injured all the time because they're not spending weeks rehearsing these fights. They often meet that day, and they'll go, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then sometimes, listen, even when you rehearse a fight,
right?
So when the adrenaline starts flowing and you're out there in the crowd, I remember doing theater, classical theater, Shakespeare, with sword fights and things. And oh my God, people get injured.
Yeah.
I got back in Stratford one year. I had a fight that we'd done over and over and over again. Brian Bedford thrust a pike, was supposed to thrust to the side of me, jammed me in the stomach, threw me back. I smacked my head in a blackout. I was supposed to get off stage. I got up, I walked, and I dropped 8 feet onto a guy in the front row, broke his leg. So anything happens, man.
Theater,
part of the fun of it.
Wow. Okay, so people know about your procedural background because of JAG and all that. I don't know if everybody knows from your theatrical background. Now, when you start off in theater, was the eventual goal to be in film and television? And the real reason I asked that is because when I was a kid, you were a Broadway actor and that was it. You were not crossing over into film and television. Nowadays, you could do everything. You can go between all that and reality shows if you want.
Well, you know what? I mean, truth be told, when I went to theater school, I had no idea what even an actor was. It was like somebody had suggested I took grade 13 in Ontario in Canada, where I'm from. They went to grade 13, like 12 was not long enough to go to high school. We had to add an extra. And we read a Shakespeare play, and the teacher said, you should be an actor. And I went, oh. So I auditioned for theater school, and out of 1,000, they picked 30, and I got in somehow. I was just going to be a theater actor. And especially in Canada at the time, there was the CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Company, and that was it. If you were television, you were doing their bad television. And I think they've upped their game since then. But
Yeah.
you know, there were really no movies coming up there. It's not like it is today. And so, you know, to answer your question, yeah, I just really thought I was going to be doing theater, and that would be fine with me. But as time went on, you know, and I had more success in television and film, and then I moved to Hollywood in the late '80s, and blah blah blah. And here I am now talking to you and one filming Heels. But you know what? I still dig theater. I'd love to do some more. It's just where and when, and
It comes back to David loves the craft.
that's it.
Yeah.
It's fun to get out of your skin and you know, play with other people, and it's like you never grow up, man. Right? And you know, I don't know. It's fun. Usually fun. It's not always fun, and there are elements of it that are no fun at all.
Right.
But obviously, the big picture is it's. I've had some great success doing it, and thank God I've been able to make a living, and I've had mostly fun doing it. So.
Right. Well, Heels is old to you based on how long ago you filmed it. To me, I watched the screeners 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's still not out yet, as far as I know. But are we allowed to know where we're going to see you next, or do we just have to follow you on Instagram and all that, like common folk?
You know, I've done a couple of films since then. I did a film called Harvest Moon. I don't know when it's coming out. I did with Paul Bettany, who wrote and produced it and starred in it. And it was a great cast. I don't know when it's coming. In fact, I was going to call his writing partner or even Paul and ask him, what's the state of that film? I did another film with Penelope Ann Miller this past summer. And I don't know when that's coming out. There's so much, you know, I mean, you do it, then you forget about it, and it eventually comes out. I don't know. It's a real process, especially in film these days, man. They got to make it, then they got to sell it somewhere. They, you know, takes years. So yeah, you'll have to follow Instagram, because even I don't know.
So they don't tell you the release dates. Heels doesn't send you the screeners. It sounds like you show up, you do your job, and then you move back and you're a normal person who spends time with the family.
That's it. I play golf, out. You know, I always had a thing, man, with my buddies, my workout partners for years. We went, you got to stay within 2 to 3 weeks of perfect physical condition. That way you're ready to go. You can go either way, you know, because you can't stay in great shape. Your body would break down. I can't train at the level I was training for Heels, and I was training hard. I was doing 6 days a week, a couple hours a day in the gym. Even some days I was doing double sessions, you know. And then I started getting injuries. I had rotator cuff problems, knee problems, elbow tendonitis, savage tendonitis, where I couldn't even pick up the pillow. So then you have forced breaks. In fact, after the first season, my tendonitis was so bad from doing pull-ups, I couldn't lift the pillow on my bed. I had to like support my arm to grab the pillow and bring it over here. You know, and then I looked at surgery on my rotator cuff. It was just nonstop problems. So,
it sounds like, sorry to interrupt you, it sounds like you were living the wrestling dream right there by being hurt like that from excessive working out.
Exactly. Yeah. You look at those guys as they get older, man, they're just so broken. And like football in the early days, you know, before the union, right? I don't know if wrestlers have a union. You know,
but the number 2 company does take care of its people very, very well. So changes in the world. Well, positive last question for you. As a workout fitness guy, what music do you listen to keep yourself going? Are you a Rocky IV soundtrack guy?
No. It varies day to day, man. Some days it's the Rolling Stones or Rory Gallagher, or, you know, and other days it's country. You know, it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. And all music is, when you're working out, is a distraction. So it's not like you're in there, you know, it's not really about the music. It's about not just living alone with the pain of pounding, chunks of iron. So, it varies.
Well,
like
I'm gonna say you got taste there on the screen, you got taste off the screen, and really looking forward to the next film that you got coming out soon. Congratulations on season 2 of Heels.
Thank you very much. God bless, man.
Paltrocast.